First at 4, it's going to be slow on the streets tonight as Storm Tracker 4's got rain and snow for the commutes. We'll show you how long this is going to hang on. Karen?
We have breaking news in the shooting death of this 7-year-old girl. Another suspect is arrested far from the scene of the crime. Paula.
This device is about the size of a $50, and one college campus believes it could be the key to keeping community spread from college campuses. We'll give you your first look. These stories and more are happening right now on Local 4, First at 4.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, we know winter is slowly creeping towards us, and some of you could be getting a taste over the next few hours, and you may have to slow down during the evening drive. Ben Bailey joining us with the first forecast. Ben.
Yeah, Karen, we're right there, just sort of on the cusp there between the rain and the snow. We are seeing a little bit of everything out there on Storm Tracker 4 right now. Some of the heavier precipitation remains there in the southwest portion of your screen, but in the metro zone, it's light rain primarily, and there are some breaks here and there, but more of the area is getting wet than not. And further out to the west out there in Livingston County, you can see sort of the difference. May have seen a couple flakes earlier, but right now that's cold rain being reported in Howell as we speak. Other reporting stations, Flint showing some flakes. Everybody else showing up rain right now until you get out to Lansing and Jackson. But temperatures mid-30s in a lot of spots outside of the city, which is still holding on to the low 40s. Interesting tonight that we're going to stay relatively steady. May even see these numbers rise a bit overnight, but we can expect to see more rain tomorrow. We'll talk about that, how it's going to impact Wednesday's travel, and of course your Thanksgiving Thursday forecast in a few minutes. Karen?
We do have some breaking news. The death of 7-year-old Janae Williams, who was shot in her Detroit home back in October. Investigators tell us 22-year-old Christian Mitchell Childress has been arrested in Dallas, Texas. Now he will have to be extradited back to Michigan. He's the second suspect arrested in connection to the drive-by shooting. 19-year-old Emmett Williams Jr. was in court last week facing several charges, including first-degree murder. Right now, the motive behind the shooting is unclear. Also breaking, northbound I-75 closed at Mack in Detroit after an accident and a car fire. Michigan State Police tell us the man behind the wheel of the gray car was driving recklessly, hit a tow truck, and then the car caught fire. That driver is in critical condition. No one else was hurt. The investigation continues, so definitely avoid northbound I-75 and Gratiot until the scene is clear. Governor Whitmer is reaching out with another message about COVID-19 safety for this Thanksgiving. That's part of today's update on Michigan's coronavirus crisis. The state just told us it recorded nearly 6,300 new cases of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. Plus, we have seen another 145 deaths. That includes 51 found during a vital records review. The Centers for Disease Control continues to urge all of us to stay home this Thanksgiving, only celebrating with people in our immediate household. And Michigan's governor echoed that warning, urging all of us to follow state safety mandates.
Last week, our state health department director issued an epidemic order that limits indoor gatherings where COVID-19 can easily spread from person to person. These steps are what the public health experts say we need to take to avoid overwhelmed hospitals and death counts like we saw in the spring. Doing this will protect the medical workers, first responders, and other essential workers on the front lines.
New at 5, the biggest question on many minds, how quickly will a coronavirus vaccine be approved? We do have new information on the timeline. Dr. Frank McGeorge brings you an update tonight at 5. The fallout continues from the bitter 2020 presidential race here in Michigan. Attorney General Dana Nessel has confirmed that she is investigating threats against Wayne County canvassers. You might recall 2 Republicans voted against certifying the Wayne County vote before changing their minds, and that led to a bitter backlash. The Attorney General says her office will investigate any credible threats against government officials regardless of party affiliation. Nessel also says threats of violence and harm will not be tolerated. We'll keep you posted on the investigation. And after the state of Michigan did certify its election results, the transition to a Joe Biden presidency is picking up momentum. Even though President Trump hasn't conceded, a key government office has officially hit the start button on the peaceful transition of power. Kimberly Gill picks up the story as the president-elect makes some key appointments. Kim.
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. We told you about these appointments yesterday, but today the president-elect introduced his foreign policy team to the public. The new nominees and president-elect made it clear it's time for the United States to turn the page.
America is back, ready to lead the world, not retreat from it. Once again, sit at the head of the table, ready to confront our adversaries and not reject our allies, ready to stand up for our values.
President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris welcomed the team at their headquarters in Wilmington, Delaware. Today's nominees include Tony Blinken to be the next Secretary of State. He's a longtime foreign policy advisor to Biden. Alejandro Mayorkas is a Cuban-American nominated to be the first immigrant and first Latino to serve as the Secretary of Homeland Security. Biden signaled his commitment to fighting climate change by appointing former Secretary of State John Kerry as the climate czar.
To end this crisis, the whole world must come together. You're right to rejoin Paris on day one, and you're right to recognize that Paris alone is not enough.
Of course, Kerry is talking about the Paris Climate Agreement of 2015, which President Trump abandoned during his time in office. Karen, much more on these appointments by President-elect Biden. We'll have more of that coming up on the news at 5 and 6. We're about 56 days away from his inauguration, of course. We'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. President Trump did make a very brief public appearance today to celebrate a big milestone on Wall Street. We recorded video of the big board this morning as the Dow Jones traded above 30,000 points for the first time. The president stepped forward to mark the moment.
That's a sacred number, 30,000. Nobody thought they'd ever see it. That's the 9th time since the beginning of 2020. And it's the 48th time that we've broken records during the Trump administration.
President spoke for just over a minute, did not take any questions. Short time later, he performed the traditional pardon of the Thanksgiving turkey, another brief appearance. The president has not taken reporter questions since the election was called in Joe Biden's favor. And as the markets close today, we see we are up 454 points right now, as we said, able to stay above the 30,000. Investors seem to be very encouraged by progress on coronavirus vaccines and that news that the presidential transition is moving ahead. Schools across the country are looking for the best ways to stop the spread of COVID-19 on their campuses. Now, Oakland University is offering something called a bio button to monitor the health of students, staff, and faculty. Paula Totman joins us now live to show us what a bio button is and how it works. Hey, Paula.
So here it is, and it's about the size of a very, very large button. It may be small, but it does hold big hopes for Oakland University. They did start kind of hinting that they wanted this to be mandatory, but they met with some resistance, and now they're heavily encouraging all of the student body and faculty to test it out. What would George Orwell say if he saw students at Oakland University wearing the bio button? It is something Ethan struggled with when the university offered him an opportunity to participate in testing out technology that could help stop community spread of COVID-19 as an early alert system.
The original idea of having it be mandatory for certain students or for all students, that was a big ethical concern.
The bio button is a small device that sticks to your chest with sticky tabs. It measures certain vitals through an app on a smartphone and can alert you and the health clinic of important changes in those vitals, like a spike in temperature or heart rate.
You can be tracking heart rate and temperature and skin temperature on a regular basis. You could probably identify people getting infections of any kind, the flu, a cold.
The early warning device can serve to alert, take students and faculty out of circulation while they wait to get final determination from an actual test, without them circulating unknowingly before they realize they may even need a test.
It might have that capability of indicating some kind of infectious process going on in your body before a PCR test can. Because right now, if you get exposed to somebody with COVID and go get tested that day, you're going to be negative. And if the button can catch that a couple of days before a PCR test can catch it, then you can take yourself out of circulation.
And because the information goes to you and only the clinic you've registered with, for those privacy issues, those participating have already worked through them.
I'm just happy that I have something that is a bit more sensitive to changes in my life compared to the regular screening with just those 3 questions. Do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Have you been exposed?
I definitely think that like young people in general, like they kind of struggle with taking like COVID-19 as seriously as like older generations because it doesn't affect them as much as it would affect like older people and that sort of thing. So I think that hopefully it'll like sort of like create like a mindful environment where like students are more adept to like checking their symptoms and that sort of thing.
So the buttons are now on campus. They are being tested. The real hope is that students testing them will find that they're not socially invasive at all. And indeed, they do help stop this campus spread that is such a huge concern. And then, of course, they will tell their friends, who will tell their friends, and they will tell their friends, and that these will be in wide use by next semester, Karen.
Couple questions for you, Paula. How long does each bio button last, and is there a cost, or is the university handing these out?
Great questions. They're free. And the university has ordered them for pretty much everybody who's willing, long as they stay on. They're waterproof, so you can even shower with them. And if they do fall off, you're given extra stickies so you can stick them right back on and keep measuring.
Very interesting. All right, Paula, we appreciate it. Still ahead here, first at 4, we're going to talk about a liquor crackdown on one of the biggest party nights of the year. Also, Jeffrey Epstein's accused accomplice has been put in isolation, why she can't see anyone, including her own attorney. And we're watching the radar tonight. More rain on the way, but what does Thanksgiving look like? Ben's 7-day forecast is just minutes away.
A closer look at a troubling pandemic trend with children's weight.
And why extra hours on the computer are only part of the problem.
Tomorrow on Local 4 News Today.